Okay, readers from Metal.it. Today we're here with Sabaton from Sverige. Hur mår du?
Mycket bra, tack. Och du?
Mycket bra. So, here we are again in Milano. So, after 2 years after our last interview, so how are you doing between, the festival season, the festivals, and all your other commitments?
We have
a very busy time, I'd say.
Yeah, now it's a very busy time because we are combining to play festivals. We're doing press for the new album, The Last Stand. So we are basically constantly on the road for the summer, a lot. And it is very exciting to see, and it's very exciting times for us, not only for our fans, but for us too. Because once we have recorded an album, we don't really know what the people are gonna think about it. So it's great to come out here and to present the album to a couple of journalists. A lot of them we've known for a long time, and it's great to see the feedback. They are the first ones to hear the album for obvious reasons, even though we would love to present it to the fans at once. But it is great to see the feedback, and it gives us confidence before the release.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, The Last Stand, the new album, will come out in August. So let's talk with a very basic question. What about the album title? Why have you chosen The Last Stand as the album title?
Well, I guess The Last Stand is a good album title and topic for a Sabaton album. It follows up quite naturally where Heroes took off, and a lot of these stories would fit on the Heroes album. So The Last Stand is a typical, really good topic album for Sabaton, I would say. And it has some stories more famous, some not so famous, in traditional Sabaton style, I guess. When we decided upon The Last Stand, we had some topics already that came to our mind. We had the idea of Sparta, we had the idea of
Rourke's Drift comes to mind, everything.
And The Last Stand of the Samurai was kind of the obvious ones. But then there was some which we didn't even know about and had no clue about that just popped up along as we worked.
Thanks to our fans who let us know some of these stories, It's kind of nice on this album as well that we're not, we've usually been staying in military history that's been quite recent. So modern warfare normally, except for Canada's X. On this time though, we're covering almost 2,500 years of warfare. And we're in Europe, we are in Africa, we are in Asia, So it's spreading out geographically, and also from a time frame, it's a bit more, varied than our earlier albums, which was kind of nice actually.
And it also, it's not just lyrically, it's musically varied too. So
very diverse.
So both lyrically and musically, this is probably the most diverse album of Sabaton ever. Still, it contains everything that a Sabaton fan would ask for.
We're talking musically, there is much more diversity normally on an album, but it's nothing strange. This diversity is in our past. We just didn't have that diversity on a single album before.
Yeah. Okay, well, as you mentioned, Heroes was a sort of concept album based on very specific characters, if we can say so. While this new one, it seems to be like, a journey through time. Listening to the records, for example, sorry, I have to read the title.
No problem.
For example, listening to Last Dying Breath, it seems it deals with the World War II. One, sorry. While, for example, the second single you released, Blood of Bannockburn, we are around
14th century.
Yeah. So I would like to ask you, was it, how can I say, did you opt specifically for these times, for this, it's like, a journey through, the roller coaster, if we can say so.
Thank you! That's what I've been saying too as well. It's a roller coaster ride, thank you!
Yeah, so I would like to ask you, it was a sort of precise choice you've done, or was it just natural to...
I think maybe the music had that feeling to it, so the lyrics is reflecting it. We didn't sit there and plan, let's cover all the ages of military history when we did that. But we wanted to find the most interesting stories. And it turned out that the most interesting stories were spread out this way in history. Some of the stories we wanted to tell, we couldn't tell because we didn't have any music to fit it. And there were some stories you had to find even from Paris mailbox, which has suggestions from fans, you know. And as you know, as Per said, it's when we decided on the last stand, our first thought was, should we do the obvious ones? Because one of the most archetypical ones you think of first is going to be Sparta. And then so we thought, everybody knows that story. Should we not do it? Maybe we shouldn't. And then we looked at each other and said, well, if we didn't do it, we'd be fucking stupid, you know.
Yeah. And once we had done it, I mean, then we were already 2,500 years back in history. So we were limitless.
Okay, as you said, and I do agree with this statement, it's the most diverse album Sabaton has ever released. There are a lot of topics, different topics in this album, and there's a lot of epicness, if we can say so. It's very bombastic to me, and I also found out some, classic elements that meet some old school elements, but keeping, the modern sound. So I would like to ask you something about the creation of the record. I know that you work with Peter Tacklen from Pain and Hypocrisy, and you recorded the album at the ABC Studios. So it's the third time you work with these great artists. So what kind of approach Peter has used this time around?
Well, we've actually been working with Peter in one way or another for the last 15 years. We started out with his brother, Tommy, recording, and then Peter would come and give hints. And then that would be the thing until we did Art of War. Tommy, his brother, recorded it. Peter mixed it. Peter recorded the drums on Coat of Arms. Fredrik Nordström mixed that one. And then since Carolus Rex, we've been doing everything with Peter. And I would say when it comes to the Sabaton sound, the way we sound the production on the albums, Peter and his brother Tommy are very, very much responsible for the sound. And we're very grateful for that. Musically though, not very much. I mean, I wrote one song with Peter for the Heroes album, Inmate 4859, but except for that, he doesn't produce us musically. He can do, he's done that for a lot of other bands. But when we come into the studio, I mean, we're 95%, everything is there, all the vocal harmonies, everything has been set upon already. So musically, I wouldn't say he plays a very big role, but he is the king of the production, for sure. So, but I think maybe the variation comes from natural reasons this time, because Heroes, when we did that album, it was the first album with a new lineup, and we had to prove, I don't think we thought about it consciously, but subconsciously looking back, we had to stay so hard in the Sabaton time frame, consciously or subconsciously, who knows, maybe 50-50, and to prove that Sabaton can still be Sabaton. Now, a couple of years of touring and one album done, there's no doubt, that Sabaton is Sabaton in a way. So maybe some of that playfulness, variation or experimentation that wasn't there on Heroes made its way onto this album. And, I mean, for example, one of the first songs to be written for this album was Blood of Bannockburn, which is a song in major instead of minor. It has Hammond organ, which is not very usual for Sabaton. But we don't really, I mean, people ask us, is it going to be harder, is it going to be faster, is it going to be softer or slower? We never thought in those terms. We just want to make better songs. And a good song can sometimes be a rock and roll track with Hammond organ. A good song can sometimes be thrash metal. And everything in between there can be a Sabaton song.
Okay, well, listening to the album, I was under the impression that this album is a sort of continuation of Heroes, but it's also, has some references to your previous records, for example, Carolus Rex.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you if you do agree with this statement of mine.
Well,
yes,
the new album has a lot of traditional Sabaton sounding songs, and it has also some songs that sticks out, which we always had. I mean, there's what you would call something that sounds like Sabaton, the Sabaton sound. And on every album, if you see it as a circle, every album it grows because we take out the borders a little bit, and it grows. And this is the one where we took out the borders the most, but we still stay within the circle with most of the albums. So if you're a Sabaton fan and listen to this, you will have some new elements, but you will definitely hear the classic Sabaton sound in there. You'll hear the classic Sabaton songs in there, and
I mean,
you would have nothing to fear.
I mean, when we expand in some direction, it goes in both directions. It's not like we are, as Pat said, let's say we started out with, take the first album, Metal.it. The Sabaton sound was this big then. Then comes Primo Victoria, and that maybe one song grew in the harder direction, one grew in the softer direction. So the circle gets bigger and bigger. And what I like about this album is that as we are expanding or going somewhere, we don't decide, okay, let's go harder, and everything goes in the harder direction. As we expand, it goes to every direction. There is stuff that is harder and more aggressive. Hill 32, 34, it's pretty much the hardest guitar riffing, almost heavy thrash metal song we ever did. Maybe except, I don't know, Firestorm or something like that.
And the circle will be, in 20 years, it will be huge.
Oh, that's going to be a fucking challenge.
And then we have everything in there. Then I wouldn't say that we're going to have hip hop in there, but it's going to stretch out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in order to introduce the album, you've released the first single, della. So I have to say that listening to the single, it reminded me something about Uprising, maybe because of the choirs. And I would like to ask you, why did you opt to introduce the album with this particular track?
It's a pretty strange song in a lot of ways. It doesn't have a real drum kit. It has programmed drums with sounds of war. For example, we have changed, instead of having a normal drum kit with a kick drum, we have a machine gun, and we have changed all the sounds in the drums. And we wanted the first single of the album to create some kind of, for the people when they hear it, we wanted to shock them a little bit and say, wow, here you go, something you have never heard from us before. And I kind of think we succeeded with that, delivering a song without any drums.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 9mm handgun instead of a snare gun. And the thing is, also when you release a single, you don't want to release a single that doesn't sound Sabaton. So I would say that song is very not Sabaton production-wise. But when you're talking, as you said, about the choirs and the melodies, they are stereotypical Sabaton.
Yeah.
So it's also a way of, I think it's kind of nice. If you want to go stereotype Sabaton, the big choirs, and use the same kind of melodic shifts and harmonies, why should we do that in the same way that we've done before? Can't we expand and let that circle, grow or expand as well? I actually like it. It's one of my favorites from this album for sure.
Okay. Do you think that this track can be one of the most representative tracks of the record?
I don't think it's one of the most representative tracks of the album.
No, neither is Love Bannockburn either.
but they represent something. They represent the diversity of the album.
Oh yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So, yes, they represent the album, but they don't represent anything that a fan would think typical Sabaton.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be honest, I've seen some people already being worried when they hear those two songs. It's like, oh, where's the classical Sabaton stuff? Well, I mean, if we released a single with the classical Sabaton stuff, nobody would be surprised, would they? So why release it as a single?
And people would complain, oh, it sounds the same as always.
Yeah, exactly. So trust me, I'm sorry fans, we love you, but we have a lose situation. If we do it traditional Sabaton style, everybody will say, oh, nothing has ever changed. And then if we expand and do something that's actually new, the other 50% will go, oh, this is not Sabaton anymore. So I'm sorry, we love you, but that's a bitch.
Okay, what about the second single? What can you tell me about that? Because I listened to the record, to the single.
Yeah.
I was kind of impressed by the
bagpipes.
Yeah. So I would like to ask you something about that.
Well, first of all, the song was written with
a year ago.
Yeah, and with the lead instrument almost to be the Hammond organ. We've used Hammond organs before, but not like the lead instrument, I guess.
No, only as a solo or in the background, you know.
But this time we did it, and it was actually one of our guys, a lawyer that works with us.
A lawyer?
Who played it on the album.
It's a burning organ. It actually caught fire. Leslie caught fire during the recording.
Yeah. And it was our lawyer who played it because we started to work with him in 2010, and he said, if you ever write a song with Hammond organ, I want to play it on the album, so he did.
That was one of the conditions for him to start working with us. So we called him now in late 2015. Man, you got to get your organ out. What? What are you saying? Yeah, we have a Hammond organ song for this album. So? And I told him, dude, you told me 2010 when you started working with us, if we ever have a Hammond organ song, you demanded to play in it. So now you have to take your shit. And he's like, oh, me and my fucking mouth. Do I have to take my organ, you know, a real Hammond organ with the Leslie? That's huge. Do I have to rent a trailer and drive 7 hours north to play on one song? I said, yeah, that's what you have to do. And by the way, you're not getting paid.
And then we had the song recorded then. And as we were sitting and writing the lyrics, and kind of, okay, it's
well,
gonna
you
be
writing the lyrics actually.
Well, and it was about Scotland, and we thought about, well, what if we add some bagpipes to it because it would fit to the lyrics, and it added a lot of atmosphere to the song. So when you hear the song, you instantly know where you are in history. And I think the whole atmosphere of that song turned out to be really good when we added the bagpipes.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice as well, because if you think about it, there are not that many instruments that you can, only by hearing the sound of it, place it geographically, you know. If you play the Indian instrument sitar, I mean, India, you know. But to be honest, there are not so many instruments. What would be, you know, typical Swedish would be the, you know, keyed harp or keyed violin, but that sounds like a violin, so nobody would instantly, you have to be a musician and interested in that kind of instrumentation to understand it. And every country has their own little special instrument. But how many unique instruments does everybody in the whole world, or, you know, at least Western world, instantly recognize? I can only think of maybe 4 or 5. It's kind of cool.
Okay, well, this is the second release you've done with Toppe, Chris, and Hannes, the new guys, because they are still new to us. So, what can you tell me about their contribution?
The new guys.
The new guys,
have been in the band for quite some time now, and it doesn't really feel like they are the new guys. It feels like they're the only guys. But on the new album, I think everybody was trusting each other more. On the last album, we had more to prove, like, because people were like, is Sabaton still gonna be Sabaton after the new guys? Yes, it worked. But we were more strict in everybody was playing more strict, typical, and not taking out their turns so much. On the new album, I think everybody could roam a little bit more freely in a nice way.
There's a sense of security that comes with proving that no matter who's playing, Sabaton is still Sabaton, you know. That gives you a bit more freedom, you know, and you can hear more of them. For example, Chris, you can hear more of his playing style instead of trying to copy what was before, and that's nice. But it takes. I mean, it took some time for me and Per to realize as well that can Sabaton be Sabaton without Richard, Oscar, and Daniel, you know. And then after about a couple of weeks on tour, yeah, it can actually. But we didn't know until we made Heroes. And then it turns out that, well, to have how the song is written, who is producing it, is more important than who played the guitar, you know.
Okay, well, as you know, you will play in Italy for the Sunny Sphere Festival in a few days with Iron Maiden and so many other bands. So I would like to ask you first, will you have the chance to introduce some new tracks to the audience?
I think we'll be playing Lost Battalion for sure.
Yes.
We have a very limited set list, so we want to do a little bit of everything. So I don't think Blood of Bannockburn will be played there because I think we only got 50-60 minutes.
Yeah.
So we can't squeeze in everything.
It's a shame when we are. I mean, it's much better when we do our own headline shows, which we will here in Italy. In the winter we will come together with Accept, and then we will play a lot more songs which is requested by the crowd, and we will see what kind of which ones of the new album that we will bring on tour.
I think we don't know exactly which ones yet. We know a few for sure, but I'm guessing. I mean, I'm very proud of the album, and I think there is enough material that we're probably gonna play around half of the new album on the shows, and also actually throw in, which we can't do on a 60-minute set on a support gig, because if there's a lot of new people there. If you play a headline show, most people, not everyone of course, but most people are, you know, Sabaton fans that's been with us for some time. So we can actually throw in an old song that we normally wouldn't play. We could play some song like, you know, on the last tour we did Wolfpack, for example, you know. That's kind of nice as well.
And yeah, so definitely the set list here in Rome in a few days will be completely different from the set list we're gonna do in the winter, for sure.
Aren't you excited to play, you know, the same day with Iron Maiden?
Of course, I mean, it's always exciting to play with Iron Maiden. We've been touring with Iron Maiden several times now and played with them for many years, all around.
5 years ago the first time.
Yeah, and it's we go very well with Iron Maiden. We go very well. We are very well accepted of their fans, and
fantastic crew they have.
Yeah, and it's so nice to see. It's a very inspiring band. You know, they were inspiring to us when we started 17 years ago, and they're still inspiring. So it's nice to be all around them because there's a good vibe around the band.
Okay. So you said that you're planning, you know, an headlining tour in winter with Accept. So is it confirmed that you will play with, you know, this German band?
Yeah, it is confirmed that we will come in the winter together with Accept, and we will be playing in Milan here. So for sure.
For some strange reasons, all of these announcements just happened to come right after we played a festival in that country. You know, wonder why.
Okay, so well, waiting to see you very soon. I wish you all the best, and you know, as our tradition wants, I give you the chance to show the final words. I know that you don't like that, but you have to.
You know, I think it's a very exciting time for us at the moment. Waiting for an album to be released. We put a lot of work into it.
Nervous.
And it is one of the greatest moments when an album is released to the crowd. And to see the reactions, it's amazing just, you know, to sit that day and watch the internet when people get the new album back home and they like, wow, and they listen to it and and it's just coming out. You know, it's not so far away.
Very exciting actually, following, you know, spending the whole day reading people's initial reactions. And then there comes the second kicker, to wait for 6 months and then see the reactions. Because Sabaton albums, people are changing their minds about those all the time.
And it will be fun to see, you know, we have some key people which we follow and, you know, we know from many years, some fans and stuff, and some of them have been complaining about the first 2 singles. Like, it sounds not like typical Sabaton. Well, it's gonna be exciting to see what they say when they've heard the whole album. Because I think a lot of people are in for a good ride.
As you said, it's a roller coaster ride. That's exactly how I described it before as well. You never know where that fucking roller coaster is gonna turn, man.
At least no one will throw up.
Nope.
Nope. Okay, so...
Well, I hope not. Actually.
No one will. I promise you that. Okay, so as we said, see you very, very soon in Italy. And tack så mycket.
Tack så mycket.